if you guys don't remember, in 2015, the main criticism of Donald Trump was, what's he going to do with international policy? He has no experience. Yeah. Well, turns out a whole lot better than we have ever experienced in our lifetime. Let's go on to, okay, fine, we did that. But President Trump, there have been a lot of wins here this week, and he really is just sort of flooding the market right now.
Yeah.
I didn't expect this to happen so rapidly. Remember, that was one of the most common questions we would get right here on chat. For those who are Mug Club members and now Rumble Premium, would be, how much do you think a president can actually affect?
Yeah.
And the answer I would give back then is, well, if he actually appoints the right people, has a good cabinet, has good advisors, can do quite a bit. Now, some of that can be undone if it's executive order. It's a lot harder to undo it when you've actually stripped down the beast, when you're talking about cutting out a lot of the funding. But that's not the only category of wins that we've seen. We've also seen wins as far as international policy, which is, if you guys don't remember, in 2015, the main criticism of Donald Trump was, what's he going to do with international policy? He has no experience. Yeah. Well, turns out a whole lot better than we have ever experienced in our lifetime. So we're going to break down at least 3 here of his top wins. It's a lot.
All he do is win, 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 because he's Trump destroying liberal minds. Leave their asses in the dust, and now that he is in, we getting back to building this amazing nation. And we gon' stay there.
It's no MC Baba, but it works.
I would have loved a little bit of MC Baba feature.
So would I, yeah. That's what'll happen. It'll be like Tim McGraw with Nelly.
That was terrible.
I believe we do have Donald Trump on later in The Judge, because they're going to be discussing this quite a bit. First win right now, number 1, is minerals. This is a big deal. And I also think this is where Donald Trump, President Trump, got his 300-something billion number in his Truth Social post.
Yeah.
Because now you understand a little bit. He'll make this mistake every now and then of sort of discussing something in public, assuming it's a given, but it hasn't happened yet. So, for example, maybe we've only pledged $100-something billion to Ukraine, but he knows what it is that we're discussing regarding the future as far as building up arms or mineral contracts. So you'll hear him discuss that here, and I said, oh, okay, that makes sense. He could have just changed 2 words and it would have been a non-issue. But Tuesday evening, it broke across news that Ukraine agreed to a mineral rights deal with the United States. And keep in mind, this is not even something that anyone else was discussing or knew about, let alone how great, until President Trump.
Is it true that President Zelensky is coming on Friday to meet with you, and is the mineral deal sorted out?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly, it's okay with me if he'd like to, and he would like to sign it together with me, and I understand that's a big deal. It's a very big deal. It could be $1 trillion deal. It could be whatever, but it's rare earths and other things.
What does Ukraine get in return, Mr. President?
$350 billion and lots of equipment, and military equipment, and the right to fight on, and originally the right to fight. Look, Ukraine, I will say, they're very brave and they're good soldiers, but without the United States and its money and its military equipment, this war would have been over in a very short period of time. I'd like to buy minerals on Russian land, too, if we can. The rare earth. They have very good rare earth also. They both do, I would say that, and oil and gas. Look, it's a great thing if we sell this. It's great for Russia, too, because we could do deals there. They have very valuable land.
My favorite rare earth mineral from Russia is named Melania. Hard as a diamond.
Lots of nutrients.
All right, that's not part of the deal.
Right.
But what is, so essentially what he was asking for initially was just straight cash, right? So now he's actually going to get 50% of the proceeds from this contributed to a fund that Ukraine and the United States will own. So essentially, we're going to go in and help develop their industry. It's a very, capital-intensive industry.
Minerals, natural gas, oil.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to contribute half of the proceeds to this fund that will be managed by us in Ukraine.
And they would, by the way, the United States would own the maximum financial interest that can be allowed under American law. Just to be clear, and it's designed to reinvest some of the revenues into Ukraine. So it ends up being something that actually benefits them, certainly benefits the United States. It's something when the left was saying he's going to leave them in the lurch. Hey, let me ask you this. If you're Zelensky, okay, if you are Ukraine and you were in the situation, well, not were, you still are. You find yourselves in this situation right now where the battle lines have not moved at all. The territory has not moved at all. Okay, you need to find some kind of a way out of this. More millions. How many more millions are going to be lost? Keep doing the same thing. Or you were given an off-ramp that also allowed hundreds of billions, potentially a trillion, to hear him say, which could be exaggerating, but who knows? He's been right in the past with numbers that we thought were crazy. GDP, what do you say, growth 4%. People said absolutely no. Wouldn't you take that offer? Let's get rid of the mean tweets. Get rid of the idea that the media says this is mean. Isn't this better than anything else that could have possibly been presented or would have under Biden?
Yeah.
What net gain could they possibly see? Give a man a fish, teach a man to fish. This is an ongoing relationship that also ensures American interest in Ukrainian sovereignty to a degree.
Yep, absolutely. And also, instead of giving them money after the war to help them rebuild, how about we just go in and do something that's in our interest and theirs? You imagine how many jobs get created immediately when this stuff starts happening? Mm-hmm. There you go. Helping your economy get back on its feet. It's not just a peace deal. It's actually a rebuilding deal as well, and it keeps us tied.
Also, we do have exclusive footage. Here is how the deal initially went down.
The is that?
Ukraine. I was young, but I remember. Look, I start in Odessa, right? And then I work my way to the Crimean.
You're gonna be dead before you reach Kiev. Come on, we're going home. Come on.
Vance needs to get some sleep. And this is where we're talking about America first. And then the left, their criticism is, it's not America first if it's America only. Fine. You can comment. You see this is America first? Before I get to the next part, here's why the deal is good. Ukraine is home to 5%, okay, approximately, of critical minerals, rare earth minerals, right? 5%. So that's like graphite, lithium, titanium. There are a bunch of others underneath there. Okay. The reason that this is also America first is we found a deal, and this is one of those that I will say is out of my element, and any host who tells you that they could have seen this coming, no. You do have to recognize that President Trump is arguably the best man ever at making deals. That's his thing. They called Ronald Reagan the great communicator. This man is the great negotiator. Okay? Take your ego out of it. I have no dog in this fight.
Yeah.
I am frankly amazed on a regular basis where I go, wow, he really, okay, all right, that's a really good way to play this. Because what does this do? America first, and helps Ukraine. It reduces our dependency on China, which right now they control 75% of rare earth mineral production. And by the way, it's worse than that. They also just recently banned export as far as some of those to the United States. So the United States needs something like this. Now, I would argue we probably have a ton here in the United States. We haven't even been allowed to check for it. Guarantee you there's a bunch in Alaska.
There always is.
But getting it from Ukraine, hey, it's got to be really hard for the left to argue against this. From China? Or get it from Ukraine where they profit and we profit. Also, let's add that wrinkle that China has already banned some exports. So we need to find an alternative. Here's another layer. Putin also offered the United States access to minerals that are in occupied areas of Ukraine, occupied by Russia.
Not even just that, though.
Yeah.
It was throughout the entire country.
Well, the entire country, but including Ukraine. So in other words, we get access to all of this in Ukraine.
Yep.
This also means that Russia kind of has, it's that little rubber stopper at the grocery store. They both kind of have a little bit, can be argued, an interest in going, you keep that on your side of the fence, and I keep this on my side of the fence, because we both have a license to print money. 70% of the $14 trillion or so, those mineral reserves, are in the eastern part of Ukraine. So that is some territory that's in dispute. So this may end up being the catalyst for actual peace talks because, hey, you know what? Wars are often fought over resources, over land, over gold. And in this case, you have gold in the ground, and it gives everyone an incentive to stop the killing and to start the profiting. And I know we've been told profit bad. Well, let me ask you this. Would you rather have profit over rare earth minerals, or would you rather the war machine have an incentive in profit over death? I think it's a pretty smart deal.
It is. And by the way, the left made fun of him for even mentioning this deal. He did it again with the 80-20 rule. He did it again. He put it out there. People, there's no way you're going, right? What are we talking about? Getting paid back for this stuff? And now you want their minerals? How dare you? And then a plan comes in. He's like, what were you saying again last week?
Right.
Peace is, you can't have peace. What were you saying last week? NATO's not going to pay 5%. You want to check that ledger?
Right. Well, they just won't cover it on legacy media. And to be fair, I don't know if Ginger Snap can send this in. The most read thing on X is it is fake news, and unfortunately a lot of people on the right are retweeting or reposting this where they say, Donald Trump just signed a peace deal or something.
Yeah,
that has not happened.
I think we've got it in a second.
Oh, do we have it?
Yeah.
That's not accurate, just to be clear. So
it's not a peace deal.
But it could be. It creates an incentive for people on both sides of this fence to achieve peace, and the United States gets something back for our hundreds of billions that we gave. Remember, Zelensky said, no, I don't believe, because gifts do not become debts. Well, you're going to be paying us one way or the other. The most absurd thing people thought Donald Trump ever said was, and we're going to get Mexico to pay for the wall. And everyone thought he was going to call and say, hey, Mexico, will you pay for the wall? No? Click. No, what he was saying is there are ways to do this. There are ways to force them to. In this case, Ukraine's going to pay us back. No, we will not. Want to bet? Let's compare this with former Vice President Joe Biden, the compassionate one. Empathy, as those on the left say. Well, of course he hurt the United States. He depleted our weapons stockpiles. He spent tens of billions of dollars, pledged tens of billions of taxpayer dollars as well to help Ukraine. And it didn't. It didn't help Ukraine. The weapons got to them slowly.
Yep.
There weren't enough anyway to help Ukraine win. Here's the thing. Just going to use an example, right? These aren't accurate numbers. This is an analogy. If Ukraine is in a standoff with Russia, okay, and Ukraine absolutely needs, I'm trying to think, what's a poker? What's the two aces?
What?
A pair?
Okay. A pair of aces.
A pair.
Two of
okay.
kind, yeah.
They absolutely need a pair to win.
Those cards.
I don't know. Okay, Ukraine. I'm trying to think of some other people.
I know.
So I was going to go to like a grab, like jiu-jitsu rules or like wrestling. Like people. Okay, you need a pair.
Yes.
To win. And you're saying, okay, all right, we're going to stand off with Russia. This is what I need. It's the only thing I can play here that I need to win. And instead, we send them like a 4 of clubs and a 7 of diamonds. And we go, we sent you something, but they don't have what they need. It helps. It's not that it's relative. It helps 0%. Do you understand that? It helps 0%. If the rate limiting factor is we need X and they don't get it by Y time, we've just wasted tens of billions of dollars, and that's exactly what happened. For proof, see the territory lines in Ukraine and Russia. It didn't help. It was a waste. Yeah. Also pissed off Russia, obviously, right? There was this refusal to negotiate. Joe Biden had these strong words with no teeth. People don't respect folks who make threats and don't make good on them. Not international leaders, not your children if you're a parent, not your spouse. If you draw a line, you set a boundary, and then it's violated and you do nothing about it, it never works out well. You just become a doormat. We got nothing in return for the hundreds of billions of dollars either spent or pledged. For those who want to fact check me, check the references, links in the description as they are every single show. We got nothing. We spent tens of billions, pledged hundreds of billions. No closer to ending it. No closer to peace.
No.
This is a shift. You think it's a good one. This is one where I will say, didn't see it coming. Didn't see it coming as effectively as it has.
Quickly.
Great.
Wait, he's in Putin. I'm sorry. I thought he was in Putin's pocket.
Right.
I thought that Donald Trump was just a puppet. You mean he's actually going to do something that sets up Ukraine to be a sovereign state and control their own borders again?
Yeah. And generate wealth.
And Putin, hold on. The guy that he was supposedly a puppet for, now he's going against him. And Putin just came knocking and saying, hey, I like that kind of a deal.
Yeah.
You want to look at Russia?
Yeah. That's what happened.
He just got both people who are literally killing each other to come to the table and say, this sounds like a good idea. I want some of that, please.
Here's what happened. He was talking with Putin. The left lost their mind. Okay, he was talking with Putin, and at least he wasn't discussing publicly if he was having any discussions with Zelensky. He's like, yeah, Putin, yeah, I think we'll work something out. That's great. Okay, hold on 1 second. All right, yeah, $1 trillion rare metal watch contract. Okay, we'll sign that back to Putin. He's like, what are you doing with him?
We have rare earth minerals.
Oh, you don't want anything to do. Could be $1 trillion. Could be, right? That's graphite. And oh, wait. Oh, do you have some?
We've got more money. Here you go.
But we could, we have minerals. We could do it too. Well, I don't know. It seems like you two don't get along. And come on, share lycanthropy.
We're best friends. Look at us. We'll hug for you.
Don't be fooled by giant long table. I am just like you.
Big table for lots of friends.
That's right.
Oh,
like you. Gosh. Sit down.
Yes, you are my friend. I like you. That's why we'll sign this mineral deal.
That's unbelievable.
Brilliant.
Only Trump could do this.
Well, here's a key win number 2. And as soon as this came up, I'm going to call it, right? I called it as soon as it was announced, and it's going to get worse. Donald Trump has announced now a visa it's called the Gold Immigration Card, right? He's announced a new visa for a price. And as soon as I heard about this, I said, watch, the left is going to say this creates a two-tiered system where only the wealthy can purchase these visas. Hold on a second. But here's the update.
We're going to be doing something else that's going to be very, very good. We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship, and wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people.
Okay. So there you go. That's just kind of a briefing on it. Right away, of course, without understanding what it is or what it replaced, or that this is something that has been long-standing but far less effective with the EB-5 program, the media crying about how something, hey, that's right, we need to engage in class warfare. You have to hate the wealthy.
They instead are focusing on the very,
Pause.
very wealthy. And
I say this as somebody whose voice can go up like an octave when I get upset. That's the voice that unmarried men hear in their nightmares. Yeah! Start it back from the beginning. It's like, get some coaching, go to finishing school. Okay.
They instead are focusing on the very, very wealthy and to put the whipped cream and cherry on top. Yesterday, he announces that anybody who's rich anywhere in the world can come to America and not have to worry about a visa or residency, because if you're rich, you can come here. But if you're poor and you're struggling and your family is at risk, then we're going to put you in Guantanamo Bay.
What?
Take a breath, lady. Jeez.
First off, assuming that everything she just said there is correct, I'm fine with it. But it's not the truth.
It's not.
I mean it. You come here illegally, you commit crimes. I'm fine with you going to Guantanamo Bay. And yes, I prefer rich investors to get visas here, as opposed to poor people who don't benefit the American citizen. Something you're not understanding is that wealthy investors, if they're investing in the United States, actually benefit Americans and benefit other migrants, by the way, because they create paying jobs. Now, here's how you know the left knows that. Because they will claim the benefit of job creation when they add 78,000 new IRS employees or 600,000 new federal employees. In other words, they say these are important, good paying American jobs. Well, why not if it's an investor who wants to invest and employ Americans? It's only when it's at the taxpayer's expense. By the way, we have all kinds of programs that are similar to this as far as incentives and exceptions, right? Truth be told, if you are really, really wealthy, there are ways to get into this country right now because we do want those kinds of people coming here. Why? Tax base. Why? Investment. Yeah. But we have specifically a pay-to-play visa called the EB-5, which requires applicants already to invest $800,000 to $1 million, create 10 permanent full-time jobs for Americans. This is the plan that would be replaced by Donald Trump's gold card. And there's a reason it needs to be replaced. So if you're saying Donald Trump is creating a tiered system where he wants people who pay a certain amount to get the right of way, it already exists. So what they're doing is they are defending the EB-5, which, corruption. Uh-oh. The EB-5 is rife with corruption. They have fake jobs that have been investigated and discovered, Ponzi schemes, money laundering. Just to give you some examples here, from 2012 to 2016, under Barack Obama, 80% of EB-5 visas went to Chinese investors. And of course, many of them were suspected of being directly involved with the CCP, as anyone investing from China must be.
They actually thought there might be connections with the intelligence.
Yes. Well, from 2008 to 2017, just kind of an anecdotal example, or a smaller one, a Chinese father and a daughter, they actually, literally, illegally funneled $50 million.
Wow.
Right. Over 100 Chinese investors involved, and this was an exchange for green cards. And that's going to bring us to our next big one that most people don't know about, which is going to be about China being barred from purchasing land. But here to discuss more of this on the EB-5 replacement, do we have them on the line?
Yeah, I just got them.
We do. Okay, is actually right now President Trump to explain how it all works. All right. Thank you for coming in to explain how this works.
Thank you for having me.
If you could expand a little more on the immigration policy with the gold cards, would help us.
Excuse me, we are very pleased with the support of our new immigration gold card, in addition to the expedited citizenship.
Right.
It's very important, the expedited citizenship. Purchasers will also receive a free drink, a great free drink, and access to the very prestigious Gold Club.
Well, that sounds pretty generous, Mr. President.
In addition to the gold card, we will also offer a platinum card.
Oh, that's nice.
For $20 million, you can purchase a platinum card, which will give you instant citizenship, 50,000 miles on your American Airlines, and a coupon for you to personally execute one pedophile.
Well, that seems extreme.
I think it's a terrific plan. It's a great plan. A lot of people say, they tell me it's a great plan. These are pedophiles,
to kill
Stephen.
pedophiles?
They're bad guys. They're not good guys.
Well, I'm all for it, but I don't think...
Excuse me. We're also doing more cards, many more cards, in the style of soccer and Brazilian steakhouses. A red card means you're finished.
I got one of those references.
And finally, if somebody buys a diamond card for $50 million, $50 million,
yeah,
it's quite a bit, but worth it. They'll get a ride on Air Force One with me, and we'll even let you bang Judge Tread's wife.
Oh, come on.
Hey, that's some vile crap there, Donnie. You're breaking the law.
Nope, I am the law.
No, you're a disease, and I'm the cure.
Well, frankly, I got the disease from your wife, Dredd.
No! How did you know about that?
Everyone knows, Dredd. Everybody in the city, the country, knows about your wife's diseases.
How did you know? Did her boyfriend tell you that?
No, Dredd. I am her boyfriend.
No!
I mean, I really respect the president and the office. You just get sidetracked.
It's sometimes.
Yeah, he gets distracted.
Yeah, he does get distracted.
I did think
Good plan,
gold was a
though.
little low.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's good.
I wish I had 20 mil.
Yeah. I wish 50 mil. 50
Diamond.
Yeah. By the way, the Amex is not what it used to be. Remember the Amex Platinum?
Yeah.
Now it's like, nah, it's not even the best card out there. Here's a key win, number 3. A lot of you may not know about this one, but last Friday, Donald Trump signed a national security presidential memorandum to specifically counter Chinese influence, not in our elections, but something even more sinister and pervasive, Chinese influence directly in our economy.
Welcome back. President Trump signing an executive memorandum limiting China's access to U.S. markets as part of his America First investment policy. It orders the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States to block Chinese investments in sensitive sectors like technology, energy, and defense.
So the order specifically, and we make all the references available, I think we're pulling this from the White House directly, their website. It actually bans China from purchasing farmland, which we have been advocating for, for a very long time here. Let me give you the why. China owns 350,000 acres of American farmland, which some would argue is troubling considering that they are a foreign adversary and communist. When people say, the founding fathers would have wanted, you think the founding fathers, if they could understand a country like China existing in the modern world, a communist totalitarian regime, do you think they'd have a chip in their brain for the idea that China is being allowed to purchase anything in the United States?
Let alone our agriculture industry.
That's like letting Britain purchase land right after the Revolutionary Wars. Yes, do you mind, sir? Okay, I would like to purchase some land.
Yes,
instead of maybe fighting.
I'm not a huge fan of how you treated our tea in the harbour, but I do have an interest in your Carolinian tobacco field.
Yes. What's that land across that river there?
That's right. I'm sorry. Oh, please do pardon me. I have to go have sex with my sister. Now, and that when he has a stutter because he's inbred. So
Yes. So are children.
It also restricts.
And that's why we left.
It also, yes, many reasons. It also restricts new Chinese investments, not just in land. Let me tell you why. Because from 2005 to 2024, China invested $201 billion. And some of this involves purchasing businesses. Some of this involves, by the way, depending on where the investments are made, it can be absolutely a national security threat. We've talked about what can happen in big tech and the data harvesting.
Oh, yeah.
This is something else that is part of this memorandum. It strengthens export controls as it relates to specifically sensitive technologies. So why? China has repeatedly violated American export controls to gain technologies, basically intellectual theft. The small scale version of that you see is an American company creates something, it gets copied to a much lower quality. And then Amazon is flooded with 50 different companies that sell the exact same thing. And there's no incentive for American companies to innovate or create when they can just be ripped off.
Yeah.
The large scale of that would be violating, for example, these export controls potentially to get chips.
Which they did.
Yes.
With DeepSeek.
Yes.
Essentially, you had a company over there get those chips. They did it through a company in Singapore. Then they go and tell the world, hey, we figured out a way to do this without having these really expensive chips from this very powerful American company.
Right.
Just to hurt the American company, it seems.
Yeah.
And to lie to the world.
And this is the contrast, right, of fake empathy. The left, when they try and defend woke and say empathy, the John Cena's of the world, the LeBron James of the world, the Chinese people, oh, they're great. The people who still use a little red book out there. And so China, it's fantastic. Right? We don't want to harm them versus America first, which is, hold on a second, this is a foreign communist adversary, and we're not going to allow them to get a leg up. The only way China gets a leg up is if we give it to them, and we have. That stops now. That's a huge win to me. President Trump is also, at least he's sort of throwing around the idea of barring Chinese investments specifically into pension funds or universities. Pension funds should be obvious because of the instability that they could create if their primary investors
pull it all out.
It's one of those things where you read about it, you're like, wait, they can do that? Here's the why. From 2012 to 2024, China invested $2.3 billion in American universities.
That should be zero.
It should be zero.
That should be a $0 investment.
They should have zero farmland, and they should have $0 of investing in our universities. Which, by the way, still isn't anywhere close to Qatar, which always kind of dumbfounds me.
They're generous people. They'll host Hamas and also give money to American universities.
And Clockboy. Yeah,
that's true.
He put a Phillips alarm clock in a Samsonite briefcase. And he won a science fair. You too young to remember Clockboy?
A bunch of wires, too, I think. Right?
Oh, yeah. That was Barack Obama. It was Clockboy. He was a little kid. He was, Middle Eastern. He brought a ticking suitcase to school that looked exactly like a bomb. It was deliberately designed to incite a reaction. And
was his wrist handcuffed to it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was literally a briefcase, and he put an alarm clock in it. That's all he did. So it was ticking.
Well, there was a bunch of wires.
There's a bunch of wires in there, and so the police searched it. Right, that's what it was. And
science.
He said, I was just building a clock. And Barack Obama brought him to the White House and said how proud he was, and we should encourage science. It's like all he did was take an alarm clock and put it in a briefcase. And then you saw all kinds of unsavory ties with his dad to, I believe, terrorist organizations or terrorist supporting organizations. Then he left, went to Qatar, sued Ben Shapiro. It was a whole thing. And this is just the virtue signaling that always happens. So anyways, I don't like Qatar.
Moral of the story.
Universities, American businesses, intellectual property,
land,
rare earth minerals, farmland. China should be permitted to take part in none of it. Let me tell you why. This is real empathy. Real empathy. No, we're not going to allow you a seat at the table. Why? Because you're jailing people for reading the Bible. And you're a communist nation who disappears journalists you don't like and disappears dissidents you don't like. And we're not actually going to allow you to come into the New World until you start sharing the values that created the New World, modern Christendom. How about that? The left can't do that. They can't do that because they don't believe that Western civilization is superior. They don't believe that we can use, we're not talking about waging war. We're talking about using our economic leverage. Yeah. The reason we have this economic leverage is because of modern Christendom. It's because of our Western values. And we're going to preclude you from benefiting from all of our hard work. The new world, as you know it, that we created, until you come along with us. Enjoy your third world country. And it's not lost on me that capitalism, unfortunately, relies in many ways on slave labor in other countries, but that's why we need to restructure this. And if you change all of it, guess what? We have the ability to build an economy that is for Americans and more fair to the rest of the world. Let's be really clear about that. By the way, as far as China and their threat, well, I guess in the capacity that they purchased Farmland, we've documented that really quite extensively. We did a video on Chinese-owned marijuana grow farms, and we showed it almost feels like a serial killer with all the red yarn, and showed you all the connections and the banks and the NGOs. If you haven't watched it, you can click. I believe there'll be a box right here if you're on YouTube or Rumble, or link in the description. It's pretty in-depth. Elaine the Brain did some great work on it. Here's just a snippet. It's kind of spine-tinglingly scary when you know what's at stake. What you're about to see is a true story of how international organized crime, connected to one of the most powerful governments in the world, that's foreshadowing, has taken over Middle America, and how it threatens to do the same across the entire United States.
We're just very curious to know about your relationship, or Mama's relationship, with Quantic Bank, because they're also part of this investigation, and we're finding that they have a relationship with Mama and the marijuana industry. It seems like there's a lot of connection going on here.
Also, really gross, just an aside, that a lot of the meat, a lot of the beef that you get at the store, some of it comes from China.
Ugh.
Isn't that terrifying?
That is
think
terrible.
About it? They're not a sponsor of the show, but these awesome conservative Brazilians.
Not a sanitary culture.
They're not a sanitary culture.
I'm sorry.
Easy Meats, they keep sending me meat, so I feel like I have to mention them. They're not a sponsor, but I know them through Paulo Figueiredo.
Yeah.
Their meat there at Easy Meats, it's a different food group. The Wagyu that they have, they're special.
That's
they just
awesome.
hand select it. It's like I'm like, this thing melts in my mouth. So if you do want to support some good conservative Brazilians who are making it work, they're Easy Meats. I do recommend it. Not a sponsor, just really awesome people. And do send those kebabs there, Antonio. But in conclusion here, what do you think the major takeaway is? Do you think it's the 80-20? Do you think I think it's the idea. This era of false empathy is over, because people, I think, are now seeing the consequences. This false empathy of federal employees. Doge is wildly popular.
Yes.
You know why? Because people are going, wait a second. I thought these were just these federal workers are assholes. Right? That's what's happening. We go, wait a second. We're allowing China to buy, farmland?
He's kind of unmasking the world right now. He's basically showing these governments could have been spending money on their own defense right now. No, I'm not in the pocket of Putin, but I am a businessman, and I understand how to make a deal and make sure that somebody can save face in public, while I let the other guy who's been going on world tours talking with every single politician know I'm not necessarily fond of him right now. Oh, it brings him to the table. It brings this guy to the table. I think what he's doing is showing you this can be done. Right. We can cut government. We can get other countries to foot the bill and still be their partners and still have their back. And we can negotiate a peace deal and get these guys to stop killing each other. Mm-hmm. The previous administration said, no. We just want to prop people up.
Right.
We just want to continue the status quo. We want to be the cool kids over here. And we want government to grow so that you don't see that our economy isn't doing very well.
Right.
Donald Trump is completely ripping the Band-Aid off of all this stuff all at the same time. And he's doing it really well so far.
And he stood his ground, too, while the mainstream media follows false leads.
I know.
I think that's
sitting him off.
I love that, because he doesn't even address some of the things.
Yes.
He's like, let the mainstream media say these things. Meanwhile, they're going to look like an idiot in 22 hours.
Yeah. Exactly. No, I think you're right. And you know what? You can often do pros and cons lists. By the way, I was chewing. You ever chew gum so much it becomes paste?
Yes. Yeah.
I have paste stuck in my teeth from gum earlier.
I chew paste so much it turns into gum.
Really? I need to learn how to do that.
It gets me high, too.
I good old paste, yeah.
Well, Elmer's is quite a bit cheaper, so that would save me some dough.
I wouldn't do that.
There's always, you can do a pros and cons list. Okay, so these policies now. Let's actually look at this. Let's break it down. Who it's good for, who it's bad for. Okay, let's start with who it's bad for talking heads, right, in leftist media. It's bad for the Joy Reids of the world. It's bad for the Jim Acostas of the world. Okay, it's bad for the APs of the world. All right. Certainly bad for the Democrat Party. Okay, understood. Some of these policies are, it's definitely bad for illegal immigrants. Okay, that's true. It's bad in many ways for what people used to refer to as the military-industrial complex, people who profit off of never-ending billions of dollars in blank checks for arms, supplies. Okay, it's bad for them. All right. And it's bad. Well, it's bad for communist China. But who's it good for? Okay, it's good for Ukraine. It's good for the United States. It's good for the American taxpayer. It's good for the would-be American farmer. It's good for the potentially or would-be American students. And something else when you're talking about this whole virtue signaling, false empathy, you know who this it actually is good for? The dissidents in China. The people who actually want some freedom, the people who actually hope that at some point, maybe in their lifetime, there can be a toppling of a communist, arguably genocidal government. So look at who it's bad for and look at who it's good for. If I've missed any, comment below. But let's stop living in this world of empathy above all else, and empathy specifically for the one person in front of you. Because there are other people out there who need a little bit of empathy. And I would say this, if you're wondering if you're president, if you're a public servant, start with the people you claim to represent. Before anyone else, what is best, what is most empathetic to the American taxpayer? If you look at these three policies, proposals, those are big wins. That's why this guy just can't stop.
All he do is win, win, win because he's Trump destroying liberal minds. Leave their asses in the dust, and now that he is in, we getting back to building this amazing nation. And we gon' stay there.
Hey, if you like this video, or if you have strong opinions, comment below, where I will tell you this, the comment section on YouTube is the best that society has to offer. You won't regret it one bit. Or you can click one of these videos playing right here next to me in that box. No, not that one. That's embarrassing.